Hello.
Yes,
Welcome,
like,
everyone. We are. Hello.
yes,
Welcome,
like,
everyone. Starting a little bit later, as per usual. Back to our roots. Our very unfocused roots, but we're back. Um. Anyways. As always, there's just those little bits of promotions to go around. Here and there. One thing. Announcements my direction once again. If we get 50 followers, we'll be doing a Lower Decks 2 shot in which I don't know why I'm gonna put myself through that hell, but I'm offering it. Um, so if you haven't followed, we would appreciate it. On top of that, we're only 6 away from that. So if you are watching via YouTube or anything like that, um, you know, get us there so I can suffer. But on top of that, Slay will not be here tonight. They are feeling a little under the weather, so they will not be participating, but will be here in spirit. And also, they did more than enough last episode. But on top of that, they are working on something for Rune and Relic that I cannot drop yet. Um, but aside from that, I will let other people go around. Also, is just a previous little thing. As that joke kind of did fly around last episode. Don't dox Lucas. Don't do it.
Well, you
do
know what, Joe?
it, do it, do it, do it.
I was gonna ask you if you remember. Do you remember the 21st night of September? That's today. Anyway, hi, I'm
Fuck
Lucas Sanchez.
yeah!
And I don't know why I made that joke today. It just sort of felt right. Anyway, you can normally find me over on Rule of Lore. You can find like all of our stuff is up on YouTube. At Rule of Lore. Right now, we're not actively streaming for tech reasons, but yeah, as Joe said, the joke came from me saying, "These days you can find me in my house, but please don't." So today instead, I'll just say, "Catch me outside." How about that? Anyway, moving on.
You did not just do that. Oh my
Hey,
god.
we're not unfocused today, Joe. We're very focused on chaos.
Oh god. Okay. Um.
I only get this one last chance to be chaotic here.
Uh, till season 3. I'll conscript you again. Um, but I do believe then that leaves Silver and Little left if they have anything.
Yes, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second there. Hi there. Well, first of all, of course, my art blog is with a legend dash art. I post a lot of my art on there, but also I finally got my blog set up and going. Your World on a Plate. It's like a single word as my tag on Tumblr. I posted a link into our server, and I really hope you come look at it, follow it, enjoy it. It's There's only characters on there for now, but I am going to start posting comics soon. And feel free to ask for the characters who are already there. It's like a really big thing for me, so I really hope you guys enjoy.
Really excited to check it out myself. And hi there, I am Silver Sugar, aka Risa. You can find me most places on the internet as Silver Sugar or X Silver Sugar. Right now I've been doing just a lot of Pokemon streams, getting back into the thing. Got skunked in an earlier one I did today, just impromptu, so that was less than fun. But I am gonna try to do another shiny hunting stream after today's stream, probably about like half hour to an hour after this, just because I need a little bit of cooldown time in between things. But I am excited to be streaming more actively again, and I hope all of you are gonna hang out with me as well. But yeah, that's it for now.
Okay. With all of that said and done, one tiny little follow-up is, and I think this is going to be something that I can just drop right now. Throughout season 3, of Star Trek Intelligence, which will probably take place at the beginning of next year and close out that year as well, this wonderful player group, and maybe some new faces if I can kidnap them for it, but different Star Trek game is in the works. Actually, 2 of them are in the works. But with that being said, keep that under wraps. Nice little teaser to keep you guys wondering. But anyways, we will head into the episode, and we will be back in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. During the last episode, of course, we investigated a little bit more into their attacker, his hacks and such, and through Jaloran's decision is to go full off-grid, with Alec returning after hitting a stalemate on the current mission. Kind of a grounding force for something very stressed and strenuous. However, within Jaloran's safe house is where all of them are, off the grid with technology, but we are going to wind the clock back by about an hour. As within Starfleet Academy in a separate room, Lieutenant Loris has stopped Kavai from self-administering a sedative to themselves. That is where we are picking up this scene here, as Mira, you have stopped Kavai from self-medicating from your med kit, essentially, and have grabbed Kavai by the wrist, which is, you're a fairly strong individual, but Kavai is in a potentially nuclear headspace right now.
Happened definitely. Well, she didn't grab. Well, she did grab her without much thought, but she didn't do it like with her full strength. Just like a gentle, like kind of the way that you grab your cat's paw when they are like trying to push a glass of a table. This kind of like firm but gentle.
Still probably a little startling for Kavai in this situation.
Yeah, and you would be getting a ton of feedback.
Uh, anything specific?
Just a lot of like feelings about like high stress. You would be picking up all of that, but it's like more staticky than usual. Kind of like best way I could describe it is almost like just the loud rushing of like water barely being like contained as they are trying not to let everything bleed out, essentially. And especially so when they're not expecting to be touched. But once they register that that's happening, it pulls back, and you're not going to suffer any like negative consequences for doing so. But I think you're almost immediately left with like some sort of headache.
Mira kind of like Mira actually doesn't let go. Well, it does shock her if she kind of stumbles back, but as long as the Kavai is holding that's just the range, right?
It's
The
a
thing to
hypospray,
administer.
but it might as well be a syringe.
Yeah.
It's basically
In that case, the longer you sustain prolonged contact, the more surface thoughts you start getting. And they're scattered. It's very like blind panic sort of, I just need to calm down, this will help, I just need to stop thinking, I need to stop thinking, like, I can't believe I did that, like, and then you start getting like the little bits of like the like active lines from what she was working on, because it was her personal pad. So you start getting like little bits of like story beats from her holo novel, and like just like so much grief over like having lost that, and then it's a lot. Like it's so much. Just her mind moves a mile a minute. Like especially now it's like high key frantic. Like she does not know where to focus. And she's just trying to stop thinking because she knows that there's something important to be done, but there's like no way to point everything because it's all too much. Like very high key, like overwhelmed, overstimulated, all of that jazz.
Here's another question, one last one actually. I am forgetting when Mira is touching Kavai. Would Kavai be able to hear what Mira is thinking or feeling?
Kavai does have that ability. It's just not.
They would have to concentrate on it right now. I'm guessing.
And it would also be a very. They have to make that choice to do so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kavai is very inward focused, not very rarely like outwardly focused on what other people are doing, because they have to spend so much of their energy actively controlling themselves. I can't say too much more without going into like spoiler territory. Although I guess you would be getting some inklings of that. I'm gonna DM you.
Sure. But yeah, while you were writing, Mira is a simple-minded person. She doesn't often have a lot of, kind of head waterfall thoughts kind of thing. A lot of very good things about her mind is she can focus on one thing for a very long time and be like very concentrated on one thing. So that's kind of what she does as she's hit by this stream of thought and emotions that Kavai is kind of feeling. So she kind of grabs onto like one specific thing and holds. Her head does hurt, but she doesn't really. She only like kind of rubs her temple with her free hand. Oh, 1 second there. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what she does is she rubs her temple, but she still looks at Kawai, like right straight into her eyes. Okay, she goes, listen, I will let you go if you let go of that thing in your hand. Okay, drop it right now. Listen to me. You drop it, I let go. Okay?
There's just like a beat, and I think she almost just registers your words like sort of just like very hazily, and like the way her fingers uncurl are sort of like very stiff.
Okay, good, good. And she lets go of the hand and she kind of raises both her hand upwards, like, like just to show that she is not doing anything. All right, now I see you are really, really stressed.
You would get like this
feel...
wave of sorry.
Mhm.
You would get
No,
this
you
like
continue.
wave of like almost like bitterness of like the sort of like knee-jerk reaction of no shit Sherlock, but like she bites that back. Like you can actively see her like literally biting her tongue. But
Okay,
obviously you could still feel that. But I think she's almost trying to impress like because you have this sort of connection right now, like it's embarrassing for her. Like it's like the sort of like you don't want these thoughts to escape because you don't want people to see you negatively, but she's aware of the situation and what's going on and is trying to be okay with that, and she'll just nod at you.
listen. I can't say that I get what you're feeling, right? We're two different people, but I want you to know that whatever you're experiencing, I understand. As in, I get it. She kind of like grabs her temple because it still hurts.
Yeah.
I will accept every emotion that you have. I know that you're mad at me because I didn't let you self-medicate. I know that you're scared. I know that you're sad. That's what I got from this all. But I also can see that you are not letting yourself feel this entirely. And it's hurting you. So if you need to say something, if you need to express something, I will listen to you. And if you don't want to talk about it after, we will not. But I will listen to you and I will not leave, okay? I will not leave until you, at the very least, feel better. And I will not leave just in general. I will stay with you, okay? And then we will figure this whole thing out. Just let out this little bit of this. Please?
Oh. Oh, this puts me in a very interesting position. I do definitely feel like that is the significant, like, crack in the armor. But I genuinely I'm gonna DM you again.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
also going to DM the DM.
Okay.
Or could we have everyone else mute?
We're streaming live.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
no, I mean, like, can you guys, like, mute on your end, and I'll send, like, we put something in the chat, our chat, because I would love to be able to vocalize this so the audience can have it. I just don't want you guys to know.
Not right away. Alright, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
yeah,
Then
I guess.
all players that are not involved in this case, please deafen yourselves for, I would say, what, 5 minutes? That seems right. Alright then. They were deafened. So,
I'm not like fucking around with your character, right?
No.
You're cool with me.
Yeah, I am cool with you. You're just putting yourself at significant risk of harm. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you are aware of those stakes, because I think just by saying what you've said, you are... I think part
Probably
of
gonna
the
get
jam
like
could
mauled
be...
by her.
No. I think you might be getting more than you're bargaining for, and I just want to know if you're okay with, like, at the potential of taking, like, some kind of injury, like, or mental
Nah, it's
strain.
okay.
Okay, cool.
It's a
Just from player to player, I just want your consent.
Nah, it's cool.
and this, for the audience, is very important. This is what you should do in tense situations for TTRPGs. Talk to your players. It's wonderful. And talk to each other. It's great.
Yes.
It's a good lesson.
This is a fucking
And it is
after
always-
school cartoon.
Yep. It is always okay to go above board just to check in and all that jazz, because this is something that I would love to play out.
Okay.
Are
Are we good to
Cool.
undeafen people, or are we just going?
Yeah.
No.
No? Okay.
I would still like the scene to be private.
Alright, then let's do it.
So,
Alright.
I would like to call for some sort of roll to see how much I am able to hold back,
Okay.
because that would determine
The level
what-
of severity.
yes. And I will say, for the benefit of the audience, basically what I DM'd Little was that Kavai was built as to be a weapon. She was, and I think I'll even go narrative with this a bit. You get these fragments of memory when you mention that you can handle whatever she's got, that she can open herself up and you'll be okay. You get this wave of, you don't understand what you're asking for. You don't understand what I'm holding back.
Okay.
It's desperate that she does not want to hurt you, because her parents built her for the purpose of infiltrating societies and just inadvertently destroying people's lives.
Okay, so here's what we are going to do then for you, Kavai. To control this as much as possible, this is going to be a presence command roll on yourself. And this is going to be a difficulty of 2. And I will be spending 2 points of threat here. So your complication range is 18 to 20.
Okay.
Obviously, complications real bad. If you can pass this, you can siphon it as much as you can.
All right. Well, I've got focuses and talents galore. I also think I could potentially burn a value if the roll goes bad, but I am going to roll my... I can't remember. Do I have to declare using any of those beforehand?
Yes.
Or is it all after?
This
Okay.
is one of these situations where you could technically, in certain situations, this is one of those ones where I'm going to make you decide that ahead of time. Because if you choose to do this ahead of time, you can have a little bit more control over it. but I'm not gonna let you do it retroactively because this is a very stressful moment. And anything, and for a situation that is socially stressful, where an argument occurs, you can't retroactively take back what you say in an argument per se.
Gotcha. So I'm already going to burn that value because it makes too much narrative sense. It's something she's been fighting over ever since she obtained it and accepted that part of herself. So I have to burn. They wanted a weapon, they got one.
Okay. Then that does give you the 2 successes here. Because that burns a determination. You can still roll if you want. For the potential.
Yeah, just out of curiosity for momentum and also for complications.
Yep.
I think that is interesting and satisfying. Wow. 2 successes, just barely.
Okay, so
Holy shit!
that's 4 successes, 2
This is
momentum.
better than any roller coaster.
Alright, Kavai. For the sake of time, I'm also gonna say, we're gonna try and wrap this scene up and then move on within the next 5-ish minutes, so.
I think all that happens is Kavai just sort of no words. I think she even sort of reaches out to you and just starts sinking to the floor with her hands like just still grasping at you and just sobbing. And you feel all of it. So if you have any questions, I will give you any answers to whatever you would like with that regard. But it's just a complete and full breakdown.
Okay, 2 things. First, all of it, you mean like all of her feelings, or do I get all of her secrets and backstory and stuff? Or do I just feel the...
I would say emotionally, you'd get a lot of, the feelings and any that might be, kind of have been held down for a very long time. You'll be getting that.
Yes.
Very powerful emotional memories you'll probably get. Anything that is subsequential and attached that are that have built up, no. But something that is in the backdrop that is very heavy on their mind, yes, you will get.
If Silver, if you have anything specific that you want to how do I say it, that you want Mira to see, or you think that Mira would see, you can just message me the list in DMs, so I can read it. But yeah, it's a big relief to Mira because sorry.
I think I'll say one, and it pull back to. Do you remember, this was ages ago, Kavai gifted you something?
Was it the bracelets with the shells? Or did I mix it up?
No, that was a gift, but they did give you a knife.
Oh yeah.
You probably got a little bit then that she definitely took it from her parents, but there's more family significance to that than was probably originally stated to you. As just one little tidbit, but you also just get so much trauma.
Oh yeah. So since Kavai is personally reaching out to Mira, Mira is going to just kind of scoop her up, just settle her in her arms, and she's gonna be like, "That's all right. It's okay. Don't worry. See, that's better."
I feel like that almost jars a little bit of back to just having a physical presence or sensation of something to focus on. And then you would get the surface thought of, I don't think I've ever been held before, and not knowing how to feel about that.
Okay, just relax and put your arms wherever you feel like it. Okay.
She will throw them around your neck.
Okay, I'll hold you as long as you feel like it. So just let yourself relax for now, and you'll be fine. Okay? I'm here, and I'm
Okay.
yeah.
And I think, like, as we transition out of this scene, like, you just get, like, repeated, and she will say it out loud. It's just all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. I don't know what we can do. Like, but yeah, that's what I'll leave that scene with. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Okay. With that being said,
My endorphin.
with all of that, transitioning now into the safe house, Vi, you have taken the time to kind of rest and collect yourselves, and you have awakened right about the time when everyone is conversing and kind of has found Esme Teeth's background. Particularly when Jaloran has said, well, now we've found motive twice over. And that is actually where we pick up now. So this is an open scene now for everyone. Because, as we all remember, Connor was doing stuff with the, rudimentary mobile emitter. Jaloran and Leora were going through the records of Operation Twin Sword.
And I was also going through the pad as per the commander's instructions.
Mm-hmm. Alec and Mira had that talk about there's nothing you can do about the past, but you can do something about now and the future. And all convening around, I would say, Jaloran, your safe house probably has like a small little quotations war room or just a kitchen. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not terribly big. It was generally designed for like 2 or 3 people at max.
Not like 6.
Right. But it works, and it's close to where they need to be.
And Kavai, you have...
It's like, oh, sorry.
Nope, I was just gonna say, Kavai, you were awake and kind of having, slept it off a little bit. I mean, obviously, the stressors are still there, but at the very least, you're maybe a little bit more grounded than you were originally.
Yeah, I think, Kavai will come out, it's that sort of, bleary-eyed, looks like shit. Everyone else in the room can tell she's been crying. Very, puffy face. It's, the sort of, ugly cry. And it's definitely, a look that no one has ever seen them in. She doesn't even have, a wig in place this time. Her natural hair is just out, loose, kind of in a tangle. But definitely a lot better than before. I think they just sort of rub their hand over their face, and it's sort of, they give off a sort of okay, back to work, focusing on the problem. What did I miss? They sort of also mumble an apology.
Mira, who basically just a few seconds ago was clearly very super duper salty and angry because there was she's still feeling the fact that she spent a whole day around a terrorist and didn't even notice, that she immediately switches up and yeah, and runs. She doesn't really touch Kavai, but she kind of looks her over, make sure that nothing is heard, nods, and there is a little kitchen, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Is there a possibility to make some tea?
Oh yeah.
If Jaloran doesn't have
actually no
coffee or tea already, it's kind of a surprise.
Actually, no, she's not gonna make tea. She's gonna make cocoa. She's gonna make cocoa with milk.
That's more likely what Jalard would have on hand as opposed to coffee or tea.
Figure out what happened, and Mira is making cocoa there.
Okay. Well, Mira is kind of doing that. Again, all of you kind of have gathered and have kind of learned.
Wait, I'm really sorry. You got interrupted really. Oh, God. I'm sorry, my internet just went all screwy for a second.
Yeah, you're getting a little robot-y.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Exit and rejoin the call just in case.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
You're fine. Technology's like
It
that.
happens.
As Sylvan and I learned the other day, but we'll get into that.
Oh,
we'll talk to each other about break about that because that was really dumb. But anyways, with all of that, the rest of you, again, you have learned Esme Teeth's, kind of who she is and her background now. And now you are free to discuss what to do about that.
Kavai has this is the first that they're hearing about Esme. I think she takes staring at this thing going, wait a second. No. You could see all of the emotions fully playing out on their face and wafting out into the room of that can't be right. I didn't just get betrayed. How? Just going through everything of just how does this fit into what we know? I'm so mad about this. There has to be some kind of mistake. I refuse this to be true. And I think she just sort of slowly points at the screen and just I met them before. Oh no. Fuck.
You're coming back and slamming the cup, not the cup, the mug by her side, so she could drink. Are you fucking right?
I think Alec gives everybody else in the room a sort of, well, I tried kind of look.
You get a very private nudge of understanding and yeah, I know. I try to.
Can't help people who won't help themselves. Yeah, Kavai will spill everything about how they met and cop to what they pulled. Just head on desk. Especially if they overheard people saying oh, it's my fault. No, they'll just put their hand up. Nope. This one's mine.
I think Alec will just sort of be frowning, just kind of at the if there's if her file is open, he's just kind of frowning at it, but not really looking at it. He'll just sort of say, well, by now she definitely knows that we know who she is, so I doubt we'll get another shot like that. So the question is, do we try to draw her out into the open and catch her? Do we try to, turn the tables on her, make her come to us? Or do we try to... I feel like if we just follow her and track her down, we're always going to be a step or two behind.
Well, let's see what's in her private pad. We might find some more information that way.
I'm not as certain that's her private pad. That just happens to be the pad that was on her at the time.
Mm.
Well,
particularly since it was her hologram using that pad.
There was another thing that Mira and I were talking about as maybe a possibility. We have what's left of the emitter that the hologram was using. Is there some way that we could use that to backtrace where the signal was coming from? maybe pinpoint it again when it gets used next time.
Oh, you have Kavai's attention with that thing. Can I, like, is it pointed out, like, as an object in the room?
Oh yeah.
I snatch that like a
It's-
greedy little gremlin. Also, GM question.
Yes.
Because I met her wearing, you said contacts, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did her hologram have that same eye color?
What a delightful catch. No.
What is the eye color from the hologram? What's the difference?
Well, I mean, the hologram, like, color, that you had encountered, or, like, the person's, like, sort of the contact colors was sort of like, vibrant, sort of like purplish magenta color.
Mm-hmm.
The color of the hologram was just a very standard, like, a very tired, like, greenish blue hazel color.
Okay. And, again, she's human, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Would Kavai, having been on Earth now and absorbing enough media, have enough sense to pick out any sort of significance of the color purple as a choice? And what that might tell her about this person?
So, there can be symbolic significance to it.
Mhm.
In this case, many years ago, centuries ago even, there was the concept of those who were wounded but survived, and the whole Purple Heart and all of that. The significance of that is more of, like, a declaration to herself that she is a survivor.
Okay.
Meanwhile, like Joloretta has been clearly deep in thought about something, and she at that point pulls over a pad that's been sitting on the table, and taps a command on it. And back at Madrid, Jabril's pad goes off. It's subtle. It's very clearly meant to like catch the attention of just Jabril. But it's an alert that's like this needs immediate attention.
Alright. There is probably a space of... There's definitely a lengthy pause to the point where it might be a little uncomfortable, just given the situation. But eventually you do kind of get, like, the feeling of presence.
As in her head.
Yep.
So she's going to open up a bit more to Jabril. It's like the pad itself, Jabril would have noticed on her own, even before the alert came up, that it's been getting live feedback. So like Jolorn has clearly been upholding her end of the deal, as in like whatever they know, Jabril knows. So Jabril will have gotten like all the data, the files and whatnot. So it is at this point, once she's certain that Jabril is there listening in, she pipes up, and she's pegged down something that she feels like they've missed, or it's gotten lost in the conversation.
Alright. So...
The attack on Starbase 1 was a feint. Nobody was going to get hurt. With this new information about the lieutenant, I'm no longer convinced there were casualties at the academy beyond the structural integrity failing. I think she's trying to set up a situation that she found herself in. Right now, everybody thinks those students are dead, the ones from the hall. But what we saw in the film seemed to be a replication of an experiment that Dr. Atherton was working on, wormhole experiment. I have a feeling she would not have thrown that out there unless she was certain she could transport those students somewhere else.
That's such a good point.
Hostages, perhaps?
Not so much hostages, but recreating a situation where the students believe they're going to be rescued without realizing that on the other side, we all feel like they're dead. So it's going to create a situation where they feel they've been abandoned. And that is a potential kettle of problems where we might have unintentionally converted a bunch of students against Starfleet because they were abandoned from their point of view. So we don't have the means here to start a search and rescue for those students. And it's like at this point she flags Drabril's like this is what she wants Drabril for. She wants what she wants Madrid to do. She wants to switch their focus to trying to find those students.
Okay.
Using the information that she's already fed them from her pad here at the safe house.
Okay. Jabril is going to respond like kind of that mental tether. It's not as strong, obviously, because you and her don't have that connection yet. But you do get enough to just like she is willing to entertain the idea. And though she can't she's not connected well enough to communicate with you fully through your mind, but it is one of those senses where it's like, I will do this, but this is still a lot of speculation, and until I have substantial proof, I can't act upon it with the resources I want.
Yeah, Joran sends back an acknowledgement, and is like, I hope that, she hopes she's right. But she's also aware that they can't pull their full weight behind that potential search and rescue until there's solid evidence that those students are out there.
So, given what Jaloran just said, and also the information that we've started to put together, can I make some kind of role here to sort of take everything we know about what this person has done and sort of run it against sort of essentially basically doing a criminal profile is sort of what I'm trying to do here.
Okay.
Is there a way that I can make a role to do something like that? Or
this is going to be insight security. This is your thing.
Okay.
This is insight security with a difficulty of 2.
okay.
Investigation?
Let's see. I don't know that I have any focuses that are going to help me here, but
Don't you still have investigation?
I never did.
Oh, right.
Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take it as is.
Okay.
I'm just going to roll it as is. You said insight security?
Yep.
That's my whole thing. All right, let's go. Ooh, okay. That's 2 successes.
All right, that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, first of all, running everything against, yes, she is definitely from what Jaloran said earlier, maybe she's trying to prove something, that she is not an expendable resource. But given what she has gone through, it definitely feels unlikely that she would be willing to put her peers, or what would have been her peers, through a similar event. This is probably a feint, because from what you've already ascertained, right? As far as you know, there have not been any casualties in that regard. If you are operating on Jaloran's theory, then the casualty count is still 0.
Okay.
And if that is the case, then
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. One is a mechanics question,
Mhm.
and then the second question will depend on your answer to the first one. So I have the lead investigator talent, which the way it's phrased is that the character generates 2 bonus momentum after a successful task to investigate a crime.
that you can use to
does
ask
that-
questions.
No, it just says 2 bonus momentum. That's just 2 bonus
Okay.
momentum. Now my question is, do I have to have generated momentum for that in the first place for that to come into play?
I'm gonna say no in this case.
Okay, then can I immediately spend those momentum to create an advantage?
Sure. How would you like to do so?
Given the sort of like profile that like I've put together, knowing that that Kana is about to like dive into that pad, what I would like to do is basically give Kana an advantage in terms of like what specific types of things to look for on the pad, because I think Jaloran made a good point that it's probably not her personal pad, but that doesn't change the fact that she was using it, and there would be certain things on there that like if there was going to be of any use to her, then like she would need to have had on the pad. So I think I would like to take that sort of profile that I've just put together and give Kana something to sort of work with when like on the pad, so like we can kind of eliminate any sort of extraneous things that we don't need to like look through.
Okay. So kind of filtering out any BS that is kind of like a feint of red herring.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
With that being said, Colin,
Mhm.
what would have been a difficulty 5 is now a 3. But
And basically, what Kana is doing is she's doing like, as I said, that session, she's doing like a half and half, where half of her attention is going into the software and data through the screen, and the other half is monitoring the electronics in the pad to make sure that if she trips any fail safes or attempts to delete data based on her roles, she can pull those chips before that program can complete, so that in case they need that data later, someone else more knowledgeable can perhaps, if I fail.
okay. Here is what is going to happen. It is not going to be a difficulty 5 now because the advantage has been granted you. It is a difficulty 3.
Mhm.
However, this is still going to be. I'm gonna say this is insight engineering.
Okay.
With a difficulty of 3, but I'm gonna do something very unconventional in this regard. I'm gonna spend 6 points of threat.
Oh boy. So anything 14 or higher,
14 or higher is going to be a complication.
which is interesting because with my insight engineering, that's 15. So even if I get a 15, that would be a complication.
Correct.
Okay, so I would like to use a value.
Okay.
Everything can be analyzed.
That does work.
And I suspect that because of the way I'm doing this, computers and programming focuses would apply here.
They would, yes.
Okay, so anything under 4 will be a crit. All right, and I know you just spent 6, but do we have any momentum that I can spend to
Got 2.
get an extra? Should I do that? I'm going to use a momentum to buy an extra die.
Okay.
And rolling. Okay. Let me get some light, because I got a 4, and a 12.
Okay.
Ooh.
2 crits and a success, so 5
Wow.
plus your 2, 7.
Yes.
Wow.
4 momentum.
So you are able to you are now locked in with Alex's profile and everything. You are locked into something, and you are finding and in this pad you do find something very substantial. You find a program, which is actively deleting files. And you have
And Hannah will see that, and she's like, no, 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 no.
and you are able
Kill it.
you are able to stop. You are able to find it in time to stop it and freeze it. However, the files in which it's been deleting has been Operation Twin Sword. And then you're seeing, like, within this file, you're seeing, you know, executed files, and it's listing a large number. And then it has listed active files, and it will simply say 2. In this stage, you can gather right now in this situation, because you've already, like, all of you have determined that Esme is very smart. She has effectively deleted Operation Twin Sword off of any archival unit, any computer, or any backup drive within Starfleet Command, or any adjacent or aligned station. The pads and the stuff that you have right now are the only technology that has the file of Operation Twin Swords on it right now.
I am so glad that we have.
However, again, with the profile that Alex assembled, there's no way that she was going to just delete all of them.
I was going to say, because she wants that information out, but on her own terms, I would think.
And there are now 2. And originally, it kind of looked like there was probably only going to be 1, but now there's 2. Either way, your team has them. And she is smart enough to know, like, this forces you into a very precarious situation now. Because now, whether she knows what you're going to do with it or not, she knows that you have full control of what happens to the narrative next. But understand, the narrative that you pick for Operation Twin Swords is going to probably affect her next move.
And I will motion to the commander to come look at what the program is doing to the pad before I was able to stop it. It appears that she was trying to delete. Well, she was successful with one operation of completely deleting it from Starfleet's files before I stopped it.
She wanted this operation out there under her terms and painted Starfleet, be able to paint Starfleet in the worst possible light. But since we've stopped her, that ball is in our court.
Indeed. And is there anything else on the pad that I'm able to find other than those 2?
Not really. With those, but what you are able to find is there is like a encrypted message. That's not that hard for you to decipher. But it is simply like it really just essentially boils down to a message that reads, "You get to choose what happens next."
She left us a message, Commander.
Which essentially confirms my thought. The ball is in our court with what happens with this information about Operation Twin Swords. she's going to move over to a console and she's going to pull up a quick search. The two people who gave Kavai a ride back to Earth, not much time has passed, so they're still on Earth, yes?
Yeah.
She's going to bump out a message to them and give them an address. She wants to meet with them here at the safe house.
There is a message after a beat that responds to civilian the civilian that Kavai met. With the message responds with, "It's not gonna be more holographic bullshit, is it?"
Unfortunately, yes, but not for you.
I will be there in 20 minutes. Don't make me regret this.
No promises?
No response after that one.
Lyra kind of like tended to herself, what if I make her regret this just out of spite? You know, just because she's being a bitch.
Do you say that out loud?
She murmurs it.
I cannot promise which wolf you might get sicked on you if you do that.
Kavai would laugh and be like, "Oh, but they're so nice. Like, we don't want to cause trouble for them. I actually like them."
He kind of looks at her sideways, like, really?
They were nice. They gave me a ride. But like definitely like laughing about it. It's just like, oh, I didn't realize I bothered them so much. Like, I'm kind of embarrassed. But like, shrug. GM question.
Yes.
Having my hands on this little hollow emitter. One, so jealous. Definitely gonna try and swipe this thing. But what can I get from it?
Not to show Kavai what Jaloran had up her sleeve.
No, never. Like, no, this is like everything she's ever wanted. This is like, she tried to build her own before, did not go well. She's not a builder, so having one that's already made is just like, salivating practically. But what can I get off this thing?
So what you can get off of it is one, Esme Teeth's kind of like body shape and stuff. But what you are looking into it, like kind of the hologram, even though it is a little fried out. The program you're seeing is there is
I get it?
scans of Esme to kind of fit shape and form, but it does seem like there has been edits to it, as if like certain bits of her physical person have been changed.
Okay, makes sense. I would love to compare and contrast that, but I would also love to get deep into the aspects of the code that speak to personality data and memory specifically. And if I can get it up and running on our terms.
Okay. One, it is not so much like a full like autonomous hologram.
Mm-hmm.
It focuses more like a holographic communication system that is mobile.
Okay, so it's not like a full, this thing has its own life. It's definitely a tool.
No, it's VTuber rigging.
Nice, okay. Oh! That's actually even more interesting.
It's communicating with something.
Yeah, where does it patch to? Because we could potentially get a location of somewhere to check out that might have more information that way.
Okay, here's what's gonna happen, because you're gonna need to roll for this.
Yeah.
This is going to be... reason and I could see reasons. No, this would be insight science or reason security. It's one of the two. The difficulty will in fact be 3.
Okay.
I'll throw this out there. Use whatever you want, but if you use security, I have collaboration security, so you get to use mine.
Okay. Let's do that then. And my insight and reason are the same score, so
My security is 5, so you get to use that.
nice. Okay.
We could roleplay it as like this helps fill out Alex's profile of Taeth. The more you
Yeah,
can pull out of
100%.
that programming.
Yeah, a transmitting location would be extremely useful to filling out a profile.
Yes. I would also like to buy a die if possible, just to be.
Absolutely.
I don't normally buy dice, so like,
You got the momentum for it.
yeah. Also, obviously, I'm going to assume that my focus in hall programming would come into play.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm nervous. Like, I really want this to go well, but after rolling so well, I just don't feel it. But yeah, I was, fuck. Okay, 1 success, and a 19 and 15 on the others. Fucking hell. Is there anything else we can do? My head hurts.
What was your combined score using Alex?
Oh,
Five
you're
security.
right. So, then 2 successes, still the 19 doesn't help. No, you're right. Okay, so that would be 2. Can,
Okay, what did you roll again? You rolled 15, 19, and what?
5.
Then that makes it because
That much.
Does it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's a crit. Because when you
Okay.
pull on a focus, it's your discipline number and lower that becomes a crit. And since Alex's security is a 5, that 5 becomes a crit. So that's 2 successes plus the 15. That's 3 successes right there.
Oh,
You hit the
cool.
difficulty even.
Yep.
Nice. I did not know that the crit would still
And
count
since-
on
Mhm.
someone
Yeah,
else's
and since
die. Oh,
Joe-
that's fascinating.
Yeah, and since Joe didn't spend any threat, then the
complication
19 is
not gonna
just a-
touch you.
Oh,
yeah
cool.
the 19 is
We're
just a
so used
failure.
to-
It's not a complication. Yeah.
Cool. I'm so used to having our complication range increased. Okay, cool. Yay! Thank you. Thank you for all being
Hell yeah.
smarter than I am. I'm too flustered.
This whole entire roll was just a crit fishing roll, and it paid
Nice.
out for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, this time. But you were able to triangulate. You won't get an exact fix on the location because
Mhm.
that is like there's so much happening right now.
Oh, for sure.
Especially around Earth, there's a lot of like ship to ship, like travel, leaving, entering, leaving sector, leaving space dock, entering, and all that type of thing.
So noisy.
But you are able to get at least somewhere high in Earth's orbit. There is a small vessel, a smaller vessel that is presently cloaked.
I will slide that file over to the I am.
The Jaloran ensures that is flagged for Jabril. As she bumps that over, it's like, we need to get eyes on that ship, like, now.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have this up and running?
The emitter.
Yeah.
You could. Here is what I will say: if you you could have it up and running. I won't make you do a roll for it. Here is what I'm going to say about that. If you
Could I?
activate it to kind of have it up and running, you can use it to kind of get a much more fixed backtrace. However, the reverse is also true.
No, I want to isolate it from that system because we know roughly where to go with it, but I want to know. I think having the information that we can glean from this actively is more useful than potentially tracking at the moment.
Okay.
So, yeah. And because it was like a security rule, if there's any sort of risk of this thing trying to kill us, I disable whatever that might be.
There is no risk of it blowing up or anything like that. It is a piece of tech.
Well, I was thinking more from the hologram itself, like it could pick up someone's phaser, that type shit.
That is always a threat, but
that thought goes away from it forever.
okay. Essentially what you would be doing then, because it is still, again, it's like an extension, it's not like an actual, like, autonomous hologram. Essentially what you would be doing is if the hologram were to be active, it cannot take on, like, a form of artificial corporealness. It'll be visible, but it can't do anything physically at that point. That's about as far as you can go as much as deactivating it. So it can
Oh,
be
that's
visible.
totally fine. I just want to essentially be able to pick its brain in real time, if that makes sense.
Yep, that's fine.
Kavai's the sort of holo programmer that, while they could be deep in the code all the time, they prefer to have something up and running in front of them to interface with directly. If that makes sense.
Yep.
That's how they write their novels, so. Even ugly in progress, sorry.
With all of that being said, for you, Commander Jaloran, you get, like, a thing from Jabril, a communication on the pad, that is kind of another encouragement of, like, Federation media is active right now. She can't really elaborate further than that right now.
Okay, and she's going to infer from that like any movements that Starfleet makes is going to be immediately noticed by the media.
Yep.
So trying to get eyes on that ship in orbit is going to attract attention. So she sends back an acknowledgement. It's like, and as well as a question of, it's like her only response is like a runabout question mark worker bee.
Very risky. Followed by sort of a, like, in quotations, all eyes on us, basically.
I know that Starfleet has science probes. Do civilians have science probes that we can use to mask our efforts to locate this cooked ship?
How hilarious that you said that, because there was a knock on the safe house.
To Jabril's message, Jaloran just sends an acknowledgement, but doesn't say anything else. It's like just more of a reassurance that she's got a decent idea of what sort of parameters she has to work with right now. Aurelia trots over Um, and she just does a quick whistle to check on who's outside the door before letting it open.
Mm-hmm. Both members will enter.
Excuse me.
Miss Pride will kind of take a quick note around the area of this safe house and notice that it is becoming rapidly claustrophobic at this point. I like your
What?
house-
Why? There's only, what, 5 people in there?
Yeah, this is a lot. I think Kavai's definitely like squeezed into like a fuck with this hollow emitter.
like your house better, Commander, but
Yeah, I would like it better too, but too many eyes there.
well, your hospitality never ceases to amaze me, so here we are. I'm not a part of Starfleet, so I can say whatever the fuck I want right now.
Well,
I just
technically,
definitely
we're not Starfleet right now either, so
Yeah, but you're
have
still,
at it.
well, you're still in spirit. Why am I here is the first question.
I need an off-the-books favor.
You don't ask those from me very often. And last time it was to source a string for the violin.
It's a very good violin. What do you know about twin swords?
I know it's an operation that went awry and was covered up. I wasn't able to get the full of it. But I know it's something that could determine the future of Starfleet. Then I know you're asking me that because you already know the details of it.
Because at this point, there's only a couple of copies of that full access file out there.
Are you looking for some form of counsel, Commander?
Not exactly. But what I would like to know is what your interest is in it.
During the course of the Dominion War, Commander, as I'm sure the Federation in its entirety made some very unfavorable and distasteful decisions, as they do in war. That being said, distasteful decisions that come at the detriment to the mass droves and populace should eventually be brought to light. My interest in that is to bring accountability.
Reparations?
Of a sort, and I understand the damage that it can do to Starfleet. That being said, I do not believe that keeping it as a sealed file or a restricted access file is in the best interest of Starfleet in the future. Truth is always going to come out eventually, and the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be.
We're tailing somebody. We're tailing somebody who is trying to bring that out in the worst possible way.
What were you going to say, Silver?
I think Kavai would pipe up. Just they're still like working, so they're not like facing the conversation. But I think they just sort of pipe up in the background, like, would it be possible for us to notify the families on our own first?
Pride would notice a slight quirk of Jaloran's mouth, as in Kavai had accidentally hit on something that Jaloran was already planning.
Nice.
Commander, if that is something you plan on doing, you have the full weight of my support in that regards. That being said, sacrificial lambs in that case, cadets and young ones, from what I can glean here, there will be individuals that were involved and that made those decisions that will be brought to light. And in this day and age, given the commendations and the exemplary records, it will be akin to an execution. Are you fine with those consequences? Not only that, but notifying families of an operation like this, where thousands of families were affected. That's opening a 12-year-old wound, regardless if you tell them one by one on your terms. It's going to polarize public opinion one way or the other.
If we're
We
going
need
to,
Go ahead.
I think like very like idle chit chattery. Like, I mean, if we're gonna be talking to people individually anyway, it doesn't take too long to just go through their profiles to find out the best way to give them that information and break it down slowly.
We need to figure out a way to present this as tactfully as possible and acknowledge the deep wound that is there.
Kavai points over their shoulder, just says that.
Commander, you're an intelligent person, so I am going to say this with the full knowledge that you will not take this to heart or offense. I do not believe you have the time to do so in a graceful manner. You have the option right now to choose to do that, or your adversary, whoever you're against right now, is going to do that potentially for you.
They were trying to when we caught them.
I think I sort of agree here that I don't know that we have the time for tact. We have the time for minimizing damage. What she was trying to do was create an explosion, so to speak. I think we have, in my best estimation of the situation here, we have the time to do the right thing here and not have it become an explosion. I don't know that we have the time to do it nicely.
We need an earthquake, not an explosion.
Perhaps we should present it to the Federation Council, because the media will be there as well, as they always are with those meetings.
Lieutenant, I want something known, and I realize, Commander, that I am overstepping my bounds here, but I want you to understand something, Lieutenant. If you do something like that, again, decorated officers, ones who are held in high regard, will be hung out to dry. One of them, in particular, is a member, has a family member within that area. Leora Mahone, I believe you're going by now. Their mother will be hung out to dry, and it will, in fact, if they are lucky, if they are absolutely lucky, their career will stagnate, and they will advance no further. That's if they're very lucky. Realistically, they will lose their commission and their position. And that goes the same for 46 others.
Well, considering that this whole incident was swept under the rug anyways, I don't think there's any clear conscience among them anyways.
If I might take a second,
But
I
we
just want to make sure that
our high standing officers, don't we?
I just want to make sure that I know what our options are, so I want to lay this out. So, and please, anybody let me know if I've missed something here. But it seems to me like our options are, one, we release this in some manner that is the least destructive way possible to Starfleet and the foundations of our society. Two, we don't do that, and it comes out one way or another anyway in a much more destructive and much less controlled way. Or three, and the least appealing in my opinion, we bury it, or try to bury it, and it comes out, and we end up creating potentially hundreds or thousands more like our errant lieutenant. Am I missing something?
4, we can also... We could also black out the media to buy us time.
What does that mean? Do we need to do something bigger and make them get distracted?
I mean, if you're going to go the propaganda route, then yes, but...
Trying to block the media at this point when there's already so many eyes on Starfleet.
Oh no, it's not a good idea, but it is an option.
But it also potentially makes things that much worse
Mhm.
when there's already the polarized opinion of Starfleet trying to control things and making decisions that are not in the best that are not in the best interest of society. If it comes out that it came from Starfleet, that there was a blackout, there's a potential for spinning that even worse.
It's definitely that's like a last-ditch effort thing, I feel.
All
But
I'm
it
getting
is
at
an
here is-
option.
The only thing I'm getting at here is just that if time is a factor here, then, and there's an option that is not a palatable one, but it's better than the other options on the table, then we're wasting time by debating.
One
That's
last-
fair. Either way, the public is not going to be happy with us. So, better rip that band-aid out as fast as possible. Someone is going to lose their reputation or no, So just
I
let's do it.
definitely-
And
Has like a shit-eating grin once Liara's mom got brought up, but back to professionalism after that. GM, would it be fair to say that as everyone's been talking, I have set down the holo emitter and have been pulling up everyone who was directly affected by having lost someone to start at least getting those profiles together?
Yes.
yeah,
That is something I will say, because of the massive droves of people affected. That will not happen in hours. That will happen in days. But you can get
Okay.
that started. And
Could I...
yeah, continue.
Is there some sort of I would definitely pose this to the group as some sort, because Kavai's not algorithmically minded. Is it possible to filter through who's been the most outspoken before about past issues? Who's more likely to take this poorly if not informed as soon as possible type thing? Or who are the most influential of those affected, etc.
Okay.
To narrow down that scope.
There are quite a lot. as the Dominion War in itself towards the end was very controversial. That being said, the way in which, the Fallen were given, awards posthumously and all of that created that peace of mind and sort of that closure. And yes, there were people that are still, a little mad about it for sure. There's leftover bitterness. And this is actually where Miss Pride will come up and leave one last thing before we head off to break here. So all of you can ruminate on how you want this discussion to go. She is going to actually go up to Lauren. She's not talking to any of you specifically, but she is talking loud enough to all of you that you can hear. Commander, I want you to understand, if you do this, it will be my job to make sure everyone that was involved will be prosecuted to the full extent of galactic law. That means reputation will be ruined. That means prison time will be served. And that means any connected family will have their namesakes smeared. I am only saying this because I want you to really consider what you're about to do.
That's why I called you.
Give yourself 10
Commander.
minutes to think on it.
Commander, if I may.
She quirks an eyebrow at Alec, like she's clearly all ears. It's like, what she meant by that statement was like, she needed Pride's perspective on how this was going to go. Pride brought her precisely what she wanted to know.
I don't know exactly what you're thinking, but I have a decent idea, because I know you. And all I'll say is this, just to offer this so that it's out there. The Federation's bigger than people, than the individuals within it. And if we can't hold our leaders to account, then what are we?
Conversation between them, or are they still speaking in the room?
Oh, they haven't left.
Oh no, this is in the room.
This is in the room.
Just like Mira is like making big nods.
I am going to give all of you time to ruminate on that, as we are going to take a 5 to 10 minute break here to get water and probably walk off whatever little stress nuggets have developed. So we will be back in just a moment.
Stress nuggets, really.
All right, welcome back. I hope you all did, peopling.
No.
Not that kind.
I mean,
Oh my god.
peopling.
Anyways,
My friends in my home game refer to it as rewatering and dewatering.
Welcome back to this. Yeah, welcome back to this theory of campaign.
But anyways, jumping back into it, Lauren and the team has kind of reconvened with a Federation prosecutor about what the consequences of these actions are, kind of getting counsel and the large scale consequence that will occur, and we're picking up right on that as all of you can kind of discuss what's about to happen.
The other reason why I wanted to touch base with you, I think Gillard's back to Pride. You're likely very aware of the fact that the media has all eyes on Starfleet at the moment. We've tracked down a ship in orbit that's cloaked. and I need to know what's going on up there.
You're seriously gonna make me use training I haven't used in years?
In this case, you can say no. Previously, you couldn't.
Commander, all eyes are on Starfleet, so I understand why you're asking me. And I am willing to help you as far as an exact fixed triangulated point. Aside from that, I am not willing to offer aid any further, because that will put myself as a direct involvement and will not allow me to do any of the other work that I will be inevitably asked to do.
That's all I really need.
Commander, I have a thought about when it's time to make a decision. I have a thought about our wayward lieutenant as well.
I will do that for you, Commander. But also understand this, you will be directly involved as well. If I think it benefits my case, I will put you on the witness stand, and you will not be allowed to say no.
Part of what you don't know is the fact that the wayward lieutenant and I have a lot more in common than anybody realizes. Frankly, I wouldn't say no.
Then I better get look to tracking down the ship.
Question. If you're able to find the ship's exact location, I'm not the best with this sort of thing. Ships that are cloaked, is it possible once you know where they're to transport onto them?
Depends on the type of cloaked ship. With a Romulan vessel, almost assuredly not. If it's a Klingon variant or a Federation attached, then more than likely you're able to.
I was actually thinking about taking a less. This is actually what I was going to say. For maybe a less aggressive course of action might be. Commander, do you think I could speak to her?
She doesn't know about you, but it might be possible if the opportunity presents itself. So we'll keep that in our pocket.
I realize
Agreeable?
what I just said, Commander, but the Lieutenant Commander makes a good point.
I think we have different methods, but I think she wants the same thing that we do. She's desperate. She's pushed to this place because she felt like she didn't have any other recourse to get justice. If we can reach that part of her, maybe and convince her that we want the same thing and that we are doing everything in our power to get there, maybe we can get her to turn herself over. Put an end to all of this.
That shouldn't be too difficult, I feel.
And I like that idea. But it means I need you to go in with all of the information possible, which means I've got more to say.
Then talk fast, Commander. I do believe you were the one who specified that time was of the essence.
This would be about more than just twin swords. And she moves over to the table and pulls over a pad, and she props two of them together and like basically creates a holographic display. She pulls up twin swords on one and then Nightfall on the other. And these are the fully unclassified versions. And she nudges Jabril a little bit, because she would like Jabril to listen in on this part.
Okay.
So she takes a moment to get things set up and also to wait for a response from Jabril. Give Jabril a chance to decide.
Jabril is an abrasive person, which really just boils down to spit it out or don't contact me, because we both know we don't have the time for it.
While I don't know as much about twin swords, I would not have agreed to Nightfall if I had known about the operation of twin swords. It went against, knowing about it now, it goes against everything that I believe in. But these operations were dealt with, managed separately. Twin swords didn't know about Nightfall, Nightfall didn't know about twin swords. Then she moves down to the bottom portion of Nightfall, and she highlights a section, which is basically the after-action report.
Mm-hmm.
This entire section is full of lies. Even this version, unredacted, is full of lies. I never saw this, and even though there's portions in here that say that they interviewed me after we came back, that never happened. This is made up.
Oh, shit.
The catastrophe that was Nightfall. We were told we were going after a high priority target, that this was going to be key for the Dominion War. We get in there, and yes, there's a priority target in there, but it's not what we were going for. And as a result, I got left behind. I didn't make it back with everybody else. We found a psychopath scientist holed up in this place. He was using it as an experimental lab. And while most everybody got out from the self-defense turrets and everything, it turned into a bloodbath. And when they had to make the choice of come back for me because I was trapped or just leave, they left. And I became an experiment for this scientist. I was not retrieved from that place for nearly a year. And as a result of all that experimentation, I spent several years holed away in Starfleet Medical, trying to recover. A lot of that time was spent in a medically induced coma. I am what I am today because of that scientist.
Who were they?
She pulls up another profile. It's a Cardassian, Krell Moset. He's a war criminal. This person experimented on Bajorans to create a cure for a widely virulent disease. Amongst the scientific community, he was lauded until it came out what he had done in order to get those results. He had no ethics. He had no morals. He deliberately made thousands of Bajorans sick in order to come up with this cure.
If I just nose curls in disgust.
Yeah, Mira as well, especially considering that she is a doctor. So she's like clenching her fists at this.
What he did to me, he tapped into my genetics and figured out how to activate something there that had been lying dormant. I was not a touch telepath before. At least not before him. The reason why so many in Starfleet brass is so lenient with me is because, in a way, it's an apology for leaving their best hacker behind with this madman. But they never really faced any consequences for what they did to me personally. In addition to what they did to all those cadets and lower grade officers.
Kapai crosses their arms, gives you a kind of a look over. Well, I know it won't mean much coming from me, but I'm still sorry that happened to you.
I mean, from anybody, that's. She's trying not to say sucks ass, but she's like, that's a horrible, horrible thing that happened, and that's a pretty. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That's a shitty thing from Starfleet to do to you.
So, Commander, is the reason then that we're sitting here still deliberating over our options? Are you worried you aren't maintaining your objectivity here?
A little bit. I'm also wondering if my experience with Nightfall could prove useful to talking to Tath.
Undoubtedly.
As well as useful for whatever consequences may come from revealing what happened.
If you're comfortable sharing that, of course. Everyone's perspective is
that's some tough
important.
stuff.
Could I?
Previously, I wasn't even allowed to share it. All this interview stuff, and she gestures to the after action report. My CEO made it up based on what he knew of me at the time.
Kavai will shake their head vehemently. You are always allowed to talk about your personal experiences, even if it's just to... They trail off. And could I look at the screen where this person, if they're still up, does it happen to say on the profile if this guy is still alive or dead or what?
Oh no, definitely not alive anymore.
Okay, cool.
But I mean, it goes to show the most effective thing I think that you can take away from this, Alec, is if Jaloran and Taeth were to stand back to back, they are nearly the same person. It's just one chose a much more productive use of their grief and suffering, while the other was left to ruminate on it for probably too long. Additionally,
one was given a path to sort of healing and recovery, and the other one was left alone.
Yep.
Yeah, Jaloran does send a quick nudge to Jabril that's she's gotten through what she wanted Jabril to know, which the biggest chunk of it is her own experience, as well as the fact that a hefty chunk of one of these files that she sent her is a lie.
Yeah. I think Jabril will... This is the first time Jabril's able to fully connect a little bit more. That's incredibly tragic, Commander. But I would advise this. If you are going to talk to this individual, I don't think you should be the mediator. I think your experience puts you too close to it.
I fully agree with that assessment, Admiral.
And from what we can tell, if you make your presence known, they'll come to you. She'll sever the connection, because touch telepathy is still weird for her.
Especially Jaloran's version of touch telepathy. It's really weird.
I think if Alec isn't privy to that exchange, then I think what he's going to say, he's just going to be frowning. He's like, well, then maybe you're the better person to talk to her instead of me.
For the sake of transparency, Jaloran would have kept the connection open so that whoever's comfortable with listening in is capable of doing so. I think Alec, even though he finds it weird, would be okay with listening in, particularly if there's pertinent information that he can pull from it.
Okay, then in that case, he probably wouldn't say that, sort of.
And then it's of course, Jaloran is in agreement with the Admiral. Is she's too close to it. She's too similar, and she feels Alec would be the most level-headed to deal with this person.
I think you're smart enough, Jaloran, to also know you can empathize with her situation. That also makes you a risk, because she can flip that on you, and that can be very dangerous and create a skewed perspective. Alec, for you, your thoughts are broken just for a moment, as you do get a steady static notification and blip finally as your lieutenant, who is stationed herself in the Arctic, is finally connected. Commander, do you have any idea how hard that was?
Which part? You're gonna have to be more specific.
Locating you?
Sorry, what? I didn't hear that.
Locating you?
A quick aside, would Pride have left already?
Yeah.
As Pride is leaving, she would have encountered Aurelia real quick again. and Aurelia would have preceded her. It was like like one of those things of like, hey, hi, I missed you, and as well as a quick check of, hey, it's clear nobody's going to see you as you leave out the door.
Mm-hmm. As Lieutenant Hera Viren kind of like it is static because it's safe house, but you kind of just vanished.
I had faith in your abilities to find me.
Yeah, I usually end up having to do that.
And it's
There's
worked
a
out great for me
snort
so far.
chuckle.
I hope you're not into something too engaged, but Jupiter Station will need us back in an hour. Our target is moving.
Okay, understood. I know you just got up there, but I think given this update you just gave me, might want to start heading back. I think the situation is about to resolve itself.
Oh no.
Okay, are you going to be able to find a way to Jupiter Station on your own?
Oh, I meant heading back to me. No, don't leave me here.
Oh, well, I mean... Man, there goes that.
That's a direct order. Don't leave me here.
Fine. I'll finish up...
Lauren's studiously looking elsewhere and trying not to laugh out loud.
Finish up whatever you're going
Mira is
to
actually
do.
laughing. She is like just into her fist.
Oh no, Kavai too, just like full on.
Finish up whatever you're doing, Commander. You know, I'm sure you can tell me all about them later.
I mean it, Lieutenant. I don't like to pull rank, but I will do it.
I will stay within the system. Finish up what you're
Good
doing.
enough, I suppose.
And then we'll head back, because as your XO, I do have to advise that our team is, well, they are responsible. I am not comfortable leaving them alone unsupervised for this amount of time.
Lauren just shoots out like a very knowing look. Like,
just gives
how
her a
do you
very,
know
like,
what
sort
it's
of, like-
like?
He gives her a very, like, world-weary sort of look, and then just responds, "Acknowledged, Lieutenant." And, yeah. I'll look around and say, well, if we're gonna do this, it's gotta be soon. I'm almost past curfew.
Mira can't handle this. This joke breaks her. She's like,
Hannah has been having the look of like she's deep in thought of something, and it's also a thought she doesn't like because she has this crunchy face.
What's
Yeah,
bothering
Mira's
you?
like, I'm sorry, Mira just I just have to say it. Mira is slamming her fist on the table, and it was like, like in the meme.
I'll pick up whatever
go,
drink
go.
they had on the table just to make sure it doesn't get knocked over.
Believe you've heard the parents' curse before, Lieutenant Commander?
Indeed, considering that my father is knee-deep in Federation politics.
Kavai will give you like a look, just a eyebrow arched, and then, like, again, similarly to giving the commander like a look over earlier, does kind of the same, and then just says very simply, "My condolences."
Yes, considering my father is an aide to the Earth member of the Federation Council.
Would
So what would be our best chances for drawing this one out? Kana, you had a look on your face earlier. What was that about?
My father has connections that we might be able to exploit. I hate to use them because father is very good at attaching prices to those connections. Because even though I am his daughter, the ambassador in him likes to make things like this a negotiation.
One of those.
Indeed.
Kavai's expression just like there's sort of like this like wait, you're implying that they're not all like that?
And Kana will go to the screen that Trelawn had made and brings up her father. And he's an older gentleman in his 50s and has that, Federation civilian clothing that also looks like it's a bit too ostentatious for someone of his stature, but he tries to mask it kind of feel.
Okay.
And has a bit of the graying hair going on, even though in this day and age you can do hair dye to mask that as well, but chooses to keep it. And also has the face of a man who has not smiled or laughed in a long time.
I know that my parents' circles usually stuck to Vulcan and Orion, but would I happen to recognize
Would
this
have crossed
guy?
paths at least once or twice. With all that like ambassadorial thing that will come up probably inevitably given the decision you are getting. But your entire safe house does get a ping from Miss Pride as just a message and a grid pattern location above Earth with the message that reads, "You're up."
All right. So how do we want to go about this?
Well, I was going to ask, what are we doing about the files? What did we decide about that? Because I can't come to her with empty promises.
Right.
She's got to know what we're doing.
I'm of the opinion option 1. The higher-ups do need to be held accountable. As I said earlier, I would rather have it be an earthquake than an explosion. If it's going to be messy, it's going to be our mess.
Well, doesn't it just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but doesn't it make you a little happy that this earthquake will shake a couple of high-rise buildings? You know, maybe it's just my upbringing talking here, but kind of makes you a little giddy. I mean, probably not you specifically, but you know what I
Don't get me
mean,
wrong.
right?
I mean, there's a satisfaction in making sure that people who need to face justice do, but truthfully, it doesn't make me happy at all. It doesn't make me happy because it's necessary to do it at all.
It also, what doesn't make me happy is the fact that, yes, they're high-rise buildings, but those buildings are surrounded by a lot of smaller ones that will face collateral damage. Even in an earthquake, they come down, a lot of people are going to get hurt. In many ways, they need to come down. So how do we minimize who gets hurt among the little buildings?
The thing about this is that we're causing it. We get a chance to warn them. So before we confront her, I still think it's really important to at least start prepping. At least, I think if we've highlighted family who could be potentially like known to
Scream in response.
yes,
Mhm.
I think at least if we prep these folks and just flicking files up on the screen,
It
we'll
is
stand
not
a better
it is
chance
not a
of.
small number. It is like over 500.
I think, Kavai, personally, it is my opinion that, look, talking her down isn't the same thing as going public. I think we put out one fire at a time. Right now, we can't do anything the right way because we've got a gun to the back of our heads. We need to in order to do things right the way that you're suggesting, which personally I agree with, we have to take the pressure off. We have to make sure we have to defang this situation first.
Hmm. Well,
We need to break a hand that's holding a gun, is what you're saying.
Sure, or maybe just convince him to put it down.
or aim the shot so that their face like goes into like a complete staring space, like, hmm.
All right.
If we
So-
can get her to put the gun down rather than redirect the shot, then that'd be better.
Oh,
Because
of course.
what she's done with her vigilante is
Right. But first things first, we have to convince her that we're working towards the same thing and that we are dedicated to bringing that about.
Yes.
Agreed.
It means we have to make the first step then, right? You know, do something that would totally convince her. No, am I wrong here?
No, not
Then-
completely.
I would agree with Mira.
Yeah.
The Admiral's suggestion
Mhm.
is that it seems she will come to me. It's like if I'm out there, she will be drawn to me. Which may give us the opportunity we need for Alec to talk her down.
Right.
GM,
Yes.
it's a thing where you can spend momentum to change something about a scene.
Yes.
If I
Mm-hmm. It's like
can I take a momentum and change something.
what would you like
Here.
to change? Because it will depend on the severity of it.
If we can do it, I would like to have been, working around on stuff in the background, flick some sort of switch on this hollow emitter, and make it look like Jaloran.
That's precisely the kind
Me
of train of
too.
thought that I was is like, if we can get a holographic
Yeah, decoy.
Okay, with that being
this team works so well together.
with all of that being said, then I think the plan is in action here. And Jolan, you will technically probably still be, in the safe house, but
Hologram version Jaloran
with
will be
that,
somewhere else.
I will also go up to Jaloran.
okay.
If we're gonna do this, I want to go with Alec and this hologram, and they will hold out their hand to you. Give me whatever you want them to feel.
Oh my
Jaloran
god.
gives Kavai a long look, and takes Kavai's hand. Not just Jaloran's feelings, but also she gives Kavai like tools and tips on how to compartmentalize and keep what she wants separate.
In that case,
so that Kavai doesn't lose control.
In that case, then, I will offer to use my talent of mind meld with you.
Holy shit.
She accepts.
Whew.
None of this would have happened had I not burned that value earlier.
Okay. With that, I will leave that scene in sort of that meld as we jump forward to very thematic here, just on the outskirts of Starfleet Command, kind of within like an area within San Francisco, like a park area. As Alec, Hologram, Jaloran, and Kavai are around. And the rest of you will be basically watching from the Safe House Command Center with bated breath as this unfolds.
I think before anything happens, as we're sort of waiting, I'll turn to Kavai and just say, I don't know what you have planned, but I want to do this as clean as possible. I don't want any... Do whatever you're going to do, but I don't want any kind of manipulation here. If this is going to work, it's got to be her own choice.
It will be. And I think she kind of leans just a little bit closer to you. Like almost as if she's gonna rest her head on your shoulder and just sort of like looks up at you and smiles and says, I like your XO. You should keep her.
I think Alec might just sort of like very gently sort of like lean back kind of into it a little bit and just say, yeah, she's all right. Kind of a pain in my ass.
Perfect.
Pretty much exactly what I need.
The park area is a public area. Even with everything that's happened, it's still very active, and eventually you do come across an individual who is in civilian clothing right now, but also is very recognizable.
Mhm.
Well, this is unexpected.
Kavai will have sent Alec in with the hologram first and is hanging back a little bit.
Alright.
Specifically as to not be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Alec will just sort of like glance to the hologram for a second. Just kind of... We figured this was the best move. There's been a lot of attempts to maneuver, manipulate, move everybody around. But I think it's important that we just talk.
And the commander couldn't be here herself?
The thing is, that's a little bit what this is about. See, because Commander Jaloran, I think we all have a fair amount of empathy for everything that you've gone through. What we know of it, anyway. But the commander, probably more than anyone else.
Really?
She went through... Well, she got left behind in the same mess that you got left behind in. And she's not here because she wasn't sure she could trust how objective she could be in this situation. The two of you are a lot more similar than you think.
Well then, I appreciate your... I don't know you, but I assume your belief in being as honest as possible, so might as well return the favor. She'll hold up like a small device, and sort of like a hollow screen across her face will kind of fade, and the whole left side of her face is definitely got like scarred with bones and like healed up scar.
Well,
Then what's this end game of yours?
I don't know about you, but I'm tired of games.
And Starfleet seems to enjoy them.
You're right. They do. And it's wrong. Starfleet, it on the surface and publicly, it operates with a series of ideals. The ideals of the Federation, the ideals that our entire society is built on.
Those ideals
But
died
you
12 years ago.
Yeah. I don't think so. I just think that they need help. And they need help from people like us. I know what you're doing here. And I think on some level you know why, but I think you've lost the plot. You want justice. You want the things that have happened to be answered. You want the people responsible to be held accountable. Guess what? So do I. So do we. You said, this is in our hands now. It's our job to figure out how this plays out, and we did. Everything that you work towards, it's happening. It's all coming out. The whole file. We're going to make sure that the people who were responsible for this colossal waste of life and a betrayal of the ideals of Starfleet and a betrayal of its people are answered for. But we can't let the Federation pay the price for justice. And I think somewhere deep inside you, you agree. Why else would you bring other cadets into this? It's because you don't want it to happen again.
How do I guarantee that this doesn't just get swept under the rug again? There's plenty of officials that would rather just not see the light of day, have this see the light of day.
All right, I'm gonna. Oh,
Go ahead. Do you have a thought?
yes, I do, and it's one
Go
that I
ahead.
think this is Alec acting on his own. He probably did not consult anybody about this.
Okay. Because I don't
think-
want to accidentally clash with what you're thinking of.
Yeah, I think Alec pulls out the pad. He just holds it. He says, "This is, other than what you've got undoubtedly stashed away somewhere, the only record of it."
What I'm thinking of might actually complement.
Okay.
Jaloran would subtly nudge Kavai to like basically have Kavai leak to Teeth Jaloran's feelings about wanting justice for what was done to her with Nightfall.
Okay, I would step.
Caught a little off guard because she wasn't ready for you. She was ready for a mediator and Jaloran, not you.
I think, like, I don't know, like, you said we're in a park, right?
Yeah.
Definitely, like, from behind a tree, like, very, like, that sort of, like, cartoony, the way you pop around a wall type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kavai's definitely, like, full on, like, almost sideways, leaning against this tree to pop out, waves her hand, like, just very boldly, and it's just like, "Hi, Esme!"
Yeah, and what Jaloran would want Esme to feel is the fact that, like, even though physically from the outside she looks fine, she wants Esme to know that she was tortured, like what that felt like, and thus the root for why she herself wants justice for what happened.
We'll get there.
Esme is thrown for a loop because, again, she wasn't ready for Kavai, and she is a little... She's been a very hard person to read because of, like, looking into profiles, but I think, Alec, you can pick up on this too. She is confronting a consequence of her action, which is Kavai. Yes, she used Kavai sort of to a means to an end, but she didn't really want to encounter Kavai again in a situation like this. She much rather would have had it been on more amenable terms.
Oh, get fucked. No one's ready for Kavai. This is great. I will more or less bound up, and for all the world, including Alec, like, Kavai is just radiating an energy that does not match the tone of their conversation. Just the way she walks up is as if she is greeting a friend that she has severely missed and is just golden retriever, so happy to see her, genuinely.
Okay.
I have a gift for you.
Okay, now she's really trepidatious.
Yeah, Alec just says, just hold on for 1 second. We're not here to harm you or to attack you or anything like that. I said we just wanted to talk and I meant it.
Fine. She will do so, but it will not last for very long.
Kavai's kind of looking over at Alec, like, literally bouncing on their heels, just like, hands together, just like, yee. So excited.
Yeah, Alec gives her a very like, I hope you know what you're doing look, and then just sort of nods.
Kavai will... Is Esme seated or standing?
She's standing.
Kavai's expression will soften, take on a little bit more serious of an edge, and look them dead in the eye. So you know all about us, yeah?
I know enough.
May I? And she leans in almost uncomfortably close and puts her hands out.
This better not be a trick.
They shake their head. I couldn't lie to you, even if I tried.
She'll take your hand, but it is it is very cautious. And the reason she is standing is if it is too much for her, like you're in a very delicate situation. If it is too much for her, she will just flee.
Mm-hmm. Before Kavai gives off the message that Jaloran has sent, this gift is, of course, from my commander, but I do have one just from me to you, if you don't mind, first.
Just get it over with.
Kavai will smile. Her face goes just lemon yellow. She will lean in and kiss her on the cheek. I'm sorry they hurt you. And then pass it over to Jaloran of these memories that were sent along.
Okay. These memories are incredibly intense. But she does manage to hold firm before kind of like pulling herself away because it's a lot.
That was just to get you to understand that Jaloran understands where you're coming from. And it was a gesture from her. Now this one's from me. And I'm still holding the pad. As I said, the only other record other than yours. I'm gonna give this to you. You can take it, you can do whatever you want with it. But I'm asking you if there's any part of you that is left that believes that the Federation, the ideals behind it, that they still mean something. I'll gladly take it back from you, and then I will make sure that good comes of it, and that the people who did this to you and to countless others are held to account. And I just hand her the pad.
And what guarantee do you have that I don't just upload it right now?
None whatsoever. I'm simply choosing to believe that all the things that make the Federation great, all the things that make it worth working for, worth fighting for, that those things are still in you too.
There is a long, long beat of silence. I will give Starfleet and the Federation and your team 48 hours to consider their next move. After that, a reckoning comes, one way or the other. She will simply slowly back off and kind of begin fading into a crowd to a point where she kind of just disappears.
Does she give the pad back to Alec?
She does not.
Could I have gleaned anything off of that?
Yes. Okay. So just because you had like a physical connection, you actually got a little feedback there. She obviously, her personal history makes it very hard for her to trust anyone. What Alec has said does like resound in the back of her mind. It is there. That earworm has been planted. But it's kind of falling under to the whole phrase, right? Talk is cheap, actions are, great. You have access to the stuff, and you know what to look for. You have 2 pads that have, twin swords on them. You have one of them, of course. But with that being said, after like looking a little bit and disappearing into a crowd, there is a small, what you assume to be a site-to-site transport after probably an uncomfortable silent like 5-6 minutes, as a pad is once again transported right at Kavai, Hologram Jaloran, and Alec's feet, essentially.
Nice. Okay. In that case, could I add something for Esme that she would get?
Sure.
Like, the moment that pad is at Kavai's feet, like, there's this sort of, like, echo in the back of her mind of the moment that Kavai crushed her pad. And she will pick up this new one and sort of knowing that her thoughts can't transfer completely, but hoping the feelings reach anyway, she's just going to pick it up, hold it to her chest with a smile, and start walking away wordlessly, kind of with, like, just, like, giving off, like, girl with a crush, like, floating through the park. And Esme would feel that Kavai's primary value is that stories save our souls.
So a bit of hope.
Yep. Actually, within this pad, Kavai, there is like the slight little message, and there is like a small file that's attached to like obviously the Twin Swords file that has nothing to do with it. It is not the full piece of it, but there is like fragmentations of your holo novel that are still accessible.
My heart!
I think through like all the waiting, I think genuinely like Alec just sort of like sat down on a park bench and we were just waiting. And then as soon as that pad comes in and Kavai turns her back, Alec, like all the tension that he's been disguising as like sort of Starfleet discipline just releases and he just sinks down onto the bench and just...
Kavai will just like delighted look over at you, sort of like just again, very golden retriever, bouncing around with so much energy you have never seen her possess, and just almost manic, not quite, just like, dude, I gotta hug you, come here.
There's a much calmer... There's a much calmer thread from Jaloran of relief and hope and reassurance, as well as fortification from whatever Kavai might do next.
There is also another figure that kind of ends up on your left, Alec, as you're resting on a bench. Command reads the pips of Lieutenant and like leaning over the bench and looking at you and the park. Really? You're relaxing already?
Yeah.
Quite the show.
Sort of an intense afternoon.
Hoomst.
I'll say, "Oh, Lieutenant Haravir, and this is Kavai. We used to work together."
Ah, right, the holo novelist. Um,
Is the holographic Jaloran still up?
oh yeah.
She just kind of, like, with whatever little autonomy she has, she just smiles at the lieutenant and waves.
And this is kind of Commander Jaloran.
Kind.
Face for the name.
Ah, right. Well, I'm sure you would like to rest, but other mission is active once again,
Yeah.
and
There's a small thought from Jaloran is like, you could rest on the shuttle back.
do you need anything, Commander? Tea, honey, warm milk?
A stiff drink, frankly, but I'll manage with a bit of R&R. So he just sort of stands up. I think we go over to Kavai and just like give her a big hug.
Just delighted.
hmm And just say, it was great getting to work with you again.
Same. She will just. There's this moment of like, there is that initial tension, but just such a tight hug back.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll step back, shake her head, like full body shake, flaps her hands, just like, oh, I'm all sweaty. Ugh. Okay, sorry, we're good. There's just so many emotions flinging around still, but all very positive. And there's like this like moment where you catch her catching that, and it's just like weird. I don't know how to feel about that one now that I know that's a thing, huh? I don't think I've ever been happy before. And she just walks off with like start going through this pad.
Yeah. Alec is like grinning in spite of himself, partly from his own like amusement and part of just like getting the residual from Kavai. And he's like, "Hey, tell the others I said I was sorry I couldn't come back and say goodbye in person. I gotta run." So.
Aww. Okay.
And he gets a Jaloran sense of amusement as well as a genuine like appreciation, feelings of appreciation, thank you, and don't be a stranger.
Yeah. I think Alec is going to briefly sort of prod that connection and just sort of say, like, just very simply, and now you make sure you get this done.
And there's a very firm agreement right back. And then there's a small gift from Aurelia. And it's like a trilling of the lullaby that's in the statuette he's got on his desk.
Oh.
You're staring
Sort of.
off into space, Commander. Are you okay?
he'll just clap a hand on her shoulder as he kind of like wheels her around to start walking back towards the ship
Ow.
and just say, just
The right
reminiscing.
shoulder, Commander? Really? I dislocated that.
He goes, Bill's character. And he just sort of like he will release her in spite of his comment, and just say, "Nah, just thinking about the Federation and the
Yeah,
future."
I suppose. Do you think I could drop out of warp in the shuttle bay? I think I could do it.
I have every confidence that you can. So let's not ruin it by testing it. Let's not shatter my perfect view of you.
Love how Alec is like still being so how do we call it? Careful with his words, like not no, but let's not kill you today, okay?
Well, I'm sure you had an interesting 12 hours, Commander. But again, the kids need supervision, so. And also, I think, Our adversary finally may have made a mistake.
Fantastic. I love it when they do that. All right. Brief me on the way. Let's get out of here.
Is that who you have movie nights with? And then it just kind of like trails off.
Love that.
There's already a message on his pad of like, what are we gonna do next for the movie night?
Hell yeah.
We will fast forward just a little bit in time, because Jabril was okay with you kind of meeting and talking things down. I want to know this explicitly with how this final scene plays out before we close out the episode. Jaloran, did you just full on like release everything because Taeth gave you 48 hours at a max. Will you comply with that and release that in 48 hours at a max, knowing that there is no way that you can consult anyone within the Federation or Starfleet adequately in time to even like let them brace themselves?
She would.
Okay.
Because it's like underneath it all, like even though her career path has taken a very different trajectory from Taeth, there's still that burning need for justice.
Okay.
Because at this point in time, that madman is still out there.
Okay.
And then it's like, and what she's gotten from Starfleet Command and the brass at this point is like, it's never like, it's been one of those, they give her a lot of leeway as an apology, but they've never outright said, I'm sorry for any of this, nor have they been held accountable for what they've done.
Yep. Okay, then this scene is going to be a little tense, as Jabril is talking to you privately in her office. Commander?
Admiral?
I want to start with, I understand why you did what you did, but I'm going to posit a number to you. 13,842. Do you know what that is, Commander?
Blow back.
13,482 Starfleet officers, enlisted, and cadets that are no longer a part of any affiliation. That's not to include the families that we are receiving continuous blowback from. You do realize your actions will put restrictors on you as well. And restrictors on me. Any type of freedom of movement that you normally would get by the grace of Starfleet or the Federation, you really don't have anymore, and neither do I. For the foreseeable future, Commander, your team will be under intensive scrutiny by myself and other members of Federation and Admiralty. Do you understand?
Well, that part really hasn't changed much.
I can't give you the free rein that you normally would have now. Do you accept that?
At this point, Jaloran gets into Jabril's space, uncomfortably so.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows what I'm truly capable of. When I'm truly let loose. You've had me all along under restraint. I don't mind the restrictions. Because what I am without them is far worse than Taeth and this entire team combined.
Very well, then you're dismissed, Commander. You may leave.
She gives her a long look. And it's like just a way to say, it's like we all need the reminders of why the restraints are in place.
Yep.
Before she calmly turns and leaves.
One more thing, Commander.
She pauses.
I do not believe I would have been as brave. You're dismissed.
She continues out the door.
Over the next day or so, there will be, in fact, a manhunt still for Esme Taeth, as there will be, and they will bring up nothing. But the next 2 episodes of this arc are going to be the fallout portion of it. But that is where we are going to end our episode tonight, and then we won't actually have the last 2 episodes until 2 weeks down the road, because Lowell's going on a trip, so we won't be able to do that. But then we'll finish out the season after that. And while that is occurring, once again, it was nice having Lucas here for a couple episodes. So
Yeah, it was
Yay,
cool being back. I
Lucas.
enjoyed it.
Oh, my heart.
but
Seriously,
as-
don't be a stranger.
But as
Hella.
said before, once again and always on
Told him
this
go anywhere.
channel-
He's still on the server.
Yeah, I have to,
Like, don't be a stranger. Like he's leaving the fucking country.
anyways, as we kind of do our own personal wind down, as said, as always, we hope that this game has been a little bit of R&R, and we will see you in a little bit.